وقل رب زدني علما.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين سيدنا ونبينا ومولانا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. تفضل كن رسيت إن شاء الله.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. باب لعن الله من لعن والديه. وبه قال حدثنا عمرو بن مرزوق قال أخبرنا شعبة عن القاسم بن أبي بزة عن أبي الطفيل قال سئل علي عليه السلام هل خصكم النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم بشيء لم يخص به الناس كافة؟ قال ما خصنا رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم بشيء لم يخص به الناس إلا ما في كراب سيفي. ثم أخرج صحيفة فإذا فيها مكتوب لعن الله من ذبح لغير الله، لعن الله من سرق منار الأرض، لعن الله من لعن والديه، لعن الله من آوى محدثا.
جزاك الله خيرا، بارك الله فيك. So this chapter here, باب لعن الله من لعن والديه. What's the meaning of لعنة? علامة الطبري رحمه الله, he explained what لعنة is in تفسير الطبري in volume 2 on page 328. وأصل اللعن الطرد والإبعاد والإقصاء. That لعن, the root meaning of it is expulsion, it's a distancing, and it is a removal. And more specifically, it refers to getting far from goodness. علماء أبو الوليد باجي, he said اللعن لغة الإبعاد وهو مستعمل في الإبعاد من الخير. That لعن, it literally means a distancing, but more specifically it is used to denote being distanced from goodness. علماء Muhammad Tahir Patni, he explained what a curse means when it is attributed to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So first he mentioned the literal meaning. La'natullah hiya lugha at-tardu wal-ib'ad. That linguistically it means expulsion and distancing. Wal-muradu al-adab wat-tardu anil jannah awwal al-amr. That when you say la'natullah, when you say in the curses of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then what does it mean? It means the punishment of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and it means initial expulsion from a Jannah. This is when it's used for a believer. When it's used for a disbeliever, then it means ib'aduhu anir rahmah kullal ib'ad, that he completely and totally he is excluded from the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That is in Majma' Biharul Anwar, volume 4, page 491. So if a person curses his parents, he will definitely be punished and he will be deprived of immediate entry into Jannah. So does it make sense to curse your parents? When a person curses, what they want? Like they want the other person to go through harm, isn't it? That is why they're cursing. They're cursing so that the other person can go to harm. But when you curse your parents, what happens? You get harm yourself. يا ناطح الجبل العالي ليكلمه أشفق على الرأس ولا تشفق على الجبل. The poet, he says, you know, you got a goat with the horns. So that goat, he saw a big mountain there. So he thought that, hey, this mountain is in my way. I want to do away with this mountain. So he went with his horns and he ran and he tried to hit the mountain with his horns. So they tell him that have mercy on your own horns, don't have mercy on the mountain. But the mountain, it's nothing, but your own horns will break. So like that, if you curse your parents, have mercy on yourself. You are the one who will end up being deprived, and you're not going to be harming your parents in the least. So Imam Bukhari, rahmallah, he quotes with his sanad to Abu Tufail that Ali, now here it's written alayhi salam. Is it permissible to say alayhi salam for Ali radiyallahu anhu, and you know to say karramallahu wajhahu? So our Shaykh al-Hadith Fazl al-Rahman, he mentioned that when a particular phrase becomes common for Shias, then we should not use it. So for Ali alayhi salam, now you know that some of them, they assume divinity for Ali radiallahu anhu. So therefore it's better than not to use it. So rather we shouldn't say alayhi salam. Like that some people, they say Imam Mahdi. So he says that although he definitely is an Imam, like we say Imam Bukhari, Imam Muslim, Imam Malik, Imam Abu Hanifa, undoubtedly Imam Mahdi, but because they believe like he's from the Imams, so therefore we shouldn't use, but it's just something which is preferable. Nevertheless, so he was, Ali radiallahu anhu was asked, Hal khassakum, that did the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam exclusively mention anything? Now, when it's asking khassakum, it's a plural sigha. It's referring to a lot of people. So who is being referred to? He's referring to the Ahlul Bayt. In the footnotes, it's written, قال الحجوج في شرحه ممزوجا بالمتن هل خصكم أي يا معشر أهل البيت. That asking he's asking him that were you as the Ahlul Bayt, so who's considered as the Ahlul Bayt, have you been granted anything exclusively, which was بشيء لم يخص به الناس كافة. بشيء, now what's the meaning of بشيء? That it doesn't mean were you given exclusive wealth which no one else was given, or it doesn't mean that were you given exclusive privileges. Rather, it means that is there any particular verse of the Quran, or was there any particular hadith which were told to you in privacy, and that means nobody else knows it, only you were given that verse of the Quran exclusively, the rest of the ummah did not get that verse of the Quran, or that hadith was only conveyed to you as the Ahlul Bayt, it was not conveyed to anybody else. So Ali radiallahu anhu, he responded and he said, ما خصنا رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم بشيء لم يخص به الناس. That the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم did not grant us anything exclusively that he did not grant to the people. إلا ما في قراب الصيف, except what is in the sheath of my sword. So he's using the sheath of his sword as his handbag, or as his like pocket where he's keeping some scrolls. Then ثم أخرج صحيفة, he took out a small scroll from there, and now he's showing it to the people. So that means now it's no more being conveyed only to them, it has been conveyed to the ummah. So what was written on that sheet of paper? So it was a very small piece of paper. If you write it, it will take probably 2 lines, maximum 3 lines. So the first is لَعَنَ اللَّهُ مَنْ ذَبَحَ لِغَيْرِ اللَّهِ. May Allah curse the one who slaughters for others than Allah. So he doesn't say Bismillah when slaughtering the animal, rather he takes another deity, or he slaughters in the name of his peer, in the name of his sheikh. So all of that, you can see it, the curse of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When you slaughter, you only and only slaughter in the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. لَعَنَ اللَّهُ مَنْ سَرَقَ مَنَارَ الْأَرْضِ. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala curse the one who steals the boundary markers of land. So we'll explain all of this. So those of you who are asking questions, are you getting your responses? Yes, so even if they are oppressing you, then too you're not allowed to curse them. Yes, so even for Hussein radiallahu anh, it's better, remember, better. It's not like haram. It's better not to use those words. Okay, I think the others got y'all's answers. Then, لَعَنَ اللَّهُ مَنْ لَعَنَ وَالِدَيْهِ. May Allah curse the one who curses his parents. Now, can you imagine, if you curse your parents, you attract the curse of the Prophet ﷺ against you. Now, if between you and the Prophet ﷺ, whose curse has more chance of being accepted? Your curse against your parents, or the Prophet ﷺ's curse against you? Undoubtedly the Prophet ﷺ's curse. So you can see how severe it is that a person who curses their parents is getting the curse of the Prophet ﷺ. And then لَعَنَ اللَّهُ مَنْ أَوَى مُحْدِثًا. So for now we'll just translate it as may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala curse the one who gives shelter to an innovator, but we'll give a different explanation just now. So this particular narration here It has been quoted by Imam Ahmad rahmallah, by Imam Muslim rahmallah, by Imam Nasai rahmallah. Of course, Imam Muslim quoted it in his Sahih, so it means it is an authentic narration. He quoted it usulan. You know that only if Imam Muslim quoted something usulan, then it signifies that it is Sahih. Otherwise, it does not necessarily mean that it is Sahih. So Ali radiallahu anhu is clearly saying, "Ma khassana Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam bi shay." The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam did not specifically give us anything. Manana Fazlullah Jailani mentioned min ayatin or sunnah that there is no special verse of the Quran that only the Ahlul Bayt received and the rest of the Ummah does not know of. So in another narration, also comes in Sahih Muslim. Ali radiallahu anh said this on the mimbar. He said it publicly. من زعم أن عندنا شيئا نقرأه إلا كتاب الله وهذه الصحيفة فقد كذب. That whoever claims that we have additional verses of the Quran and or we have anything else, then that person is a liar. So Qadi Iyad rahmallah in Ikmal al-Mu'lim in volume 4 on page 489, he remarked on this: رد على الرافضة والشيعة فيما تدعيه من إيداع أسرار العلم والشريعة لآل البيت وتخصيصهم بما لم يطلع عليه سواهم. That this is a clear refutation of the Rafida and the Shia regarding the claim that secrets of knowledge in the Sharia was entrusted exclusively to the Ahlul Bayt and that they were granted knowledge that was inaccessible to others. So he says, وَتَكْذِيبٌ لَهُمْ. So this here is a repudiation of this falsehood. And Imam Nawawi rahmallah also in his commentary of Sahih Muslim, he also said, هذا تصريح من علي رضي الله عنه بإبطال ما تزعمه الرافضة والشيعة. You know that now, because of the whole Gaza issue and only Iran outwardly trying to show support for the people of Gaza. So I don't want to discuss politics here, but it was just outwardly. So many Muslims, unfortunately, got sympathy with the Shias now, isn't it? And unfortunately, we find that some masajid even are willing to host Shia speakers. But that's another whole topic. Let's not digress into that. But we should not be afraid to speak against the Shias. And it's speaking against the Shias, it's not that you are destroying unity or that you are making the Ummah disunited, because the Shias are not even they are not even considered as Muslims according to many scholars. So هذا تصريح من علي رضي الله عنه بإبطال ما تزعمه الرافضة والشيعة. So this is an explicit statement from Ali radiallahu anh. If someone tells you that must have unity with the Shias, so you ask them, and if depending on who that person is, you say, if someone is to accuse your mother of being a loose and immoral woman, and they kill your brother, and they fight against your father, will you ever have unity with them? So this person will say, no, definitely, never. I'll take whatever revenge I can. You know what the Shias, unfortunately, they do the same. So how can you even think of having unity? So nevertheless, هذا تصريح من علي رضي الله عنه بإبطال ما تزعمه الرافضة والشيعة ويخترعونه من قولهم أن عليا رضي الله عنه أوصى إليه النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم بأمور كثيرة من أسرار العلم وقواعد الدين وكنوز الشريعة. That this is an explicit statement from Ali radiallahu anhu invalidating the claims fabricated by the Rafida and the Shia and what they falsely assert that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam he entrusted Ali radiallahu anhu with some secret knowledge and foundational principles of religion that nobody else knew of, some treasures of Sharia, and the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam granted the Ahlul Bayt exclusive knowledge which was inaccessible to others. So you can see that this here clearly shows that that is not the case. Now here he mentions qirab. So this word qirab, Imam Nawawi rahmallah, he explains how it should be pronounced, that huwa bi kasr al-qaf, that the qaf in the beginning must have a kasra. Qadi Iyazah rahmallah, he explained the meaning. Huwa kal jarab يدخل فيه الصيف يغمده ما خف من الآلة. It's like a sheath in which the sword is placed, what it's covered as well. It's light tools and instruments which you need to carry around. So like that shield box, that is what it refers to. Um, Imam Nawawi rahmallah explained that it's made of leather. هو وعاء من جلد ألطف من الجراب. That it's like a small kind of a bag which you put your sword inside it and you put whatever other tools you need. So in there he had the small note. You can see these few sentences which were written on it. Now here he speaks about manarul ard. So what does this mean? Because the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam is cursing that person who steals manarul ard. So what does that mean? So if you're getting this here from the Shia neighbors, then firstly, it's if it's meat, etc., it's not even permissible to eat, and it's not permissible to give to anybody else at all. You have to throw it away because, like I said, they are disbelievers. So if they are disbelievers, you can't eat the meat also, and you can't give it. It's haram. So if they're giving you meat, then you cannot eat it yourself, and you cannot give it away. You just need to throw it away. So rather you decline it and you tell them that you don't want. And if it's anything else, then if it's halal, then you can eat it. And if it's not halal, then you have to throw it away. Nevertheless, I'm coming back here. So manar al-ard, we said that it refers to the lane mark, to a boundary marker between lanes. Like, you get a fence. So a fence around the property. So this curse applies to a person who goes and he demolishes the fence and then outward unlawfully he claim ownership of the land which is next to it. So say for example he owns 30 meters of land and then there's a fence there or there's a lamppost there or a boundary marker there, and he goes and his neighbor now owns another 30 meters after that. So he goes and he moves it and he steals 1 meter and he says that my land is just 31 meters and then a neighbor's land is 29 meters. So this here is what's the meaning of Manarul Ard. Qawam al-Sunnah al-Asbahani, he said, Manarul Ard haddaha. That Manarul Ard, it refers to the boundary of a land. And Qadi Iyazah rahmallah, he explained that أي علامات حدودها, that it refers to the boundary markers of land. So to show that from year to year it's your land. وظلم غيره فيها, so he oppresses, he encroaches upon other people unjustly. ودخوله في ملكه, and then he's taking that additional land as his property. So that is what this refers to. So in the past, they didn't have municipalities like what we have today, and they didn't have computer system like what we have today. So they didn't have municipal authorities to precisely demarcate how much land each individual owned, that your land is from year to year, and then your neighbor's land starts from here to there. So they didn't have this like fixed boundaries. What they had is so in today's times we have the title deeds, and it exactly shows you where which portion is your land, which portion is your neighbor's land. They would just put like a flag, or they would put something like a fence or something to demarcate the different pieces of land, so some landmarks. So Qadi Iyad said, وقد جاء في الوعيد في ذلك وتطويق من 7 أرضين, that severe warnings have been reported in the Mubarak ahadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam about this, that where a person goes and he steals additional portion of land from his neighbors. So that is what this is referring to. Alamaturi Bishti, he said, Al-Manar al-Alam wal-Had bayn al-Ardain wa dhalika bi-ay yusawwiyahu wa yughayyirahu. So at night when your neighbor is sleeping, you go and you move that lamppost. And you did so professionally in the morning. Now, of course, he's not going to go and measure his land every day. And they didn't have that laser measurements where you can just point the light and it tells you exactly how many meters it is. So probably the guy might wake up in the morning, he doesn't realize you stole a meter of his land. But if a person does that, he gets the curses of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Then coming to the main portion of this narration that why Imam Bukhari rahmallah is quoting it here, that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam is cursing a person who curses his parents. So the literal meaning is that a person initiates the curse and he curses his parents. Undoubtedly, swearing and cursing one's parents is amongst the most severe of all sins. Imam Nawawi rahmallah, he mentioned in his commentary of Sahih Muslim in volume 13 on page 141, أما لعن الوالد والوالدة فمن الكبائر, that cursing your father or your mother, it is a major sin. Alama ibn Hubayra, he said, لا يبعد أن يريد به من عرض والديه للعن sorry, لا يبعد أن يريد به من عرض والديه للعن الناس, that the one meaning is where a person curses his own parents. So that is the literal meaning. But one is where you make it such that people start to curse your parents. So you go around cursing the parents of others. So, like now, if you go and you curse another person's parents, then that person will start to curse your parents. And this here happens a lot between couples, isn't it? Because sometimes a person doesn't like their mother-in-law or their father-in-law. So then they will curse the mother of their wife or the father. Sometimes, now, just to use as ammunition to now anger your spouse in that argument. That's how it unfortunately is. That people want to score points and to show that I can use a missile against you. I can drop a bomb against you. So now for example, the girl is now migrated so far away from her mother. So easy way to curse her mother. How will she respond? She will curse your mother. So, in verse number 108 of Surah Al-An'am, وَلَا تَسُبُّوا الَّذِينَ يَدْعُونَ مِن دُونِ اللَّهِ فَيَسُبُّوا اللَّهَ عَدْوًا بِغَيْرِ عِلْمٍ. That don't curse the deities of others. Why? Now, you might be thinking that the deities of others, undoubtedly, it will be permissible to curse them. But then what will happen? Those people will start to curse Allah Ta'ala. Because you cursing their deities, so now they will reciprocate. They will then curse Allah Ta'ala. So in the same way, he says that could also be the meaning here. Because generally, it's very far-fetched that a person will curse his own parents. So any person in his right mind, any person with little but morals, any person who even got an iota of appreciation and little but brains, he will understand that he cannot curse his parents. So this here refers to going and cursing someone else's parents, and then because you curse their parents, they curse your parents. And then the final portion, لَعَنَ اللَّهُ مَنْ آوَى مُحْدِثًا. The final portion here is about giving shelter to a muhdith. So now, who is a muhdith? So we explained that the one meaning, and when we translated it, we just translated it as an innovator. But there are other meanings as well. Alama Khattabi rahmallah in Ma'alim al-Sunan, he said, وَقَوْلُهُ مَنْ آوَى مُحْدِثًا. So man awa janiyan. So muhdith could either be a criminal. So you know for sure that this person stole. So previously we gave the example, was it yesterday, that it's permissible to lie if you are sheltering a person who is falsely accused. So you know for sure the person didn't steal, and then you are sheltering him. It's wajib upon you to lie to the authorities when they come and they ask you, did you see him? Do you have to lie and say no? Why? Because he's being false accused. But if you know for sure that that person did steal, then to shelter him, you can see the Prophet ﷺ is cursing such a person. So muhdith comes in the meaning of jani, meaning a person who shelters a criminal. So we just translated it as innovator, but you can even translate it as a criminal. أو أجاره من خصمه, or he grants him protection from his adversary. وحال بينه وبين أن يقتص منه, that you obstruct the person from getting his rightful rights from him. So two meanings for muhdith. One is innovator and one is criminal. Can recite the next narration, inshallah.
باب بر والديه ما لم تكن معصية. وبه قال حدثنا محمد بن عبد العزيز قال حدثنا عبد الملك ابن الخطاب ابن عبيد الله بن أبي بكرة البصري لقيته بالرملة قال حدثني راشد أبو محمد عن شهر بن هوشب عن أم الدرداء عن أبي الدرداء قال أوصاني رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم بتسع: لا تشرك بالله شيئا، وإن قطعت وحركت، ولا تتركن الصلاة المكتوبة متعمدا، ومن تركها متعمدا بريت منه الذمة، ولا تشربن الخمر فإنها مفتاح كل شر، وأطع والديك وإن أمراك أن تخرج من دنياك فاخرج لهما، ولا تنازعن ولاة الأمر وإن رأيت أنك أنت، ولا تفرن من الزحف، وإن هلكت وفر أصحابك، وأنفق من طولك على أهلك، ولا ترفع عصاك عن أهلك، وأخفهم في الله عز وجل.
Jazakallah khairan. So this chapter here, the chapter of a person obeying one's parents as long as they are not commanding you to do a sin. So remember from the first lesson, and then we stressed it again when getting questions in the second lesson, third lesson, that this is the primary condition, that you obey them in everything as long as it is not a sin. Mulana Fazlullah Jailani in Fazlullah Samad, volume 1, page 79, he said, ما لم يكن معصية أحاديث الباب كلها مقيدة بهذا القيد. So all the narrations which we read in this chapter also, and from our side, we say that every narration that you read about obedience to parents, about respecting parents, it's all qualified by this, that as long as it is not a sin. So your parents say, let's go to the movies, then you don't have to obey them because that is a sin. So if they taking you to a place of haram, then you don't have to obey them. So Imam Bukhari rahmallah, he quotes with his sanad to Darda radiyallahu anha, and she quotes from Abu Darda radiyallahu anh, that he says, Awsani Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. So he'll explain just now that how it comes in the narration of Sunan Ibn Majah. Let's try to first go through this narration. So yeah, the way Imam Bukhari is quoting it, Awsani Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam bitis'in. The Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam gave me advice on 9 things. La tushrik billahi shay'a. Do not associate any partners with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Wa in quti'ata. I'm saying wa in quti'ata, but how it's typed out in this print? Quti'ata, isn't it? So am I pronouncing it wrong? So no, Mullah Ali Qari rahmallah in Mirqat, volume 2, page 516, he said, bit takhfif wa yushaddad. That he said that first you can, so the initial is that you pronounce it as quti'ata wa takhfif. But he's saying if you want to, then you can also pronounce it as quti'ata. But in the second one, أو حرقت. Thus he said, no, it must be with tajdeed. So bit tajdeed la ghair. This here you cannot pronounce it as حرقت. So the first one you can pronounce it as قطعت instead of قطعت. But the second you have to pronounce it as حرقت. ولا تتركن الصلاة So do not associate any partners with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, even if you have to be cut up to pieces or even if you have to be burnt. ولا تتركن الصلاة المكتوبة متعمدا. Do not deliberately abandon the obligatory prayer. ومن تركها متعمدا برئت منه الذمة. Whoever intentionally abandons his farad salah, it absolves him from divine protection. We'll explain that. So that's the second. First is do not make shirk, irrespective of the repercussions. Second is do not leave out the salah. If you are leaving out the salah, you're losing all the privileges which this ummah has. Then the third is وَلَا تَشْرَبَنَّ الْخَمْرِ. Do not drink wine. فَإِنَّهَا مِفْتَاحُ كُلِّ الشَّرِّ. It is the key to all evil. So that's the third. Then the fourth, وَأَطِعْ وَالِدَيْكَ. And this is the reason why Imam Bukhari rahmallah is quoting it, that obey your parents. وَإِنْ أَمَرَاكَ أَن تَخْرُجَ مِن دُنْيَاكَ فَخْرُجْ لَهُمَا. So here the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam is giving this a kind of emphasis that even if they have to command you to go out of this world, you must go out of this world. So of course, now that means it's emphasis, isn't it? It's not that they command you that you must go out of this world, so now you start to see how can you go to Mars, you start to see what's the price of a rocket. No, it's just emphasis. So you can translate it rather that if they command you to relinquish your worldly possessions, then do that for their sake. So no matter what they command you to do, obey them. That is what the objective is. If they tell you, like now in English also, you can put emphasis in this way. They tell you to go to mass, you go to mass. But now it doesn't mean literally you go. It's just showing emphasis. وَلَا تُنَازِعَنَّ وُلَاةَ الْأَمْرِ وَإِنْ رَأَيْتَ أَنَّكَ أَنْتَ. Do not contend with those in authority, even if you believe that you are in the right. So that's the next then. وَلَا تَفِرَّنَّ مِنَ الزَّحْفِ. Do not flee from the battlefield. وَإِنْ هَلَكْتَ. Even if you have to perish. That means even now, though you see that now the chances of your survival are minimal, the enemy is overpowering you. وَفَرَّ أَصْحَابُكَ, and everybody else has fled. That now you're standing in front of 1,000 people. So, and you have the opportunity of fleeing. Don't flee. وأنفق من طولك على أهلك. Spend your wealth on your family. ولا ترفع عصاك عن أهلك. So the literal meaning is that do not raise your whip from your family. That means continue whipping them. Of course, this here is not the literal meaning. The literal meaning is do not withhold discipline from your family, from your household. وأخف هم في الله عز وجل. Instill within them the fear of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So Muhammad ibn Nasr al-Marwazi, Alama Lalaka'i, and Imam Ibn Majah, they quoted this narration. As for the status of this narration, it is Hasan. In Ad-Durr al-Munaddad, it is mentioned, وَإِسْنَادُ الْحَدِيث حَسَنٌ. So this is a Hasan narration. So in this narration, you can see that Abu Darda is saying, the way Imam Bukhari quotes it, أوصاني رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم, that the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم, he has given me these advice. In Sunan Ibn Majah, it's quoted with the word Awsani Khalili. So can you see, my friend, my bosom a friend, my close friend has given me this advice. So because it comes Awsani Khalili, so in his commentary of Mishkat, Alama Tibi Rahmallah mentioned, لما كان هذا الحديث في الوصية متناهيا وللزجر عن رذائل الأخلاق جامعا وضع خليلي مكان رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم إظهارا لغاية تعطفه وشفقته عليه. That this narration here, it's such a comprehensive advice. It's comprehensive advice, isn't it? And it's also a stern warning against the vices which are mentioned within this narration. Therefore, he used the word Khalili, that my friend has given me this. That he knew that the Prophet ﷺ told him this, and the Prophet ﷺ had his interest in heart when telling it to him. So that's a great lesson for us, isn't it? That when we give advice to another person, they must not think that we had some ulterior reason why we are giving that advice. They must be sure that we told them that advice, and it came from a place of sincerity and a place of love. That we told it to them out of love and out of concern. So here, by saying Awsani Khalili, he knew absolutely, she was absolutely sure that most definitely the Prophet ﷺ is telling him this because the Prophet ﷺ wishes good for him. So this is to emphasize the إظهار لغاية تعاطفه وشفقة عليه. The Prophet ﷺ had utmost compassion and tenderness towards him. Now, Alama Tibi Rahmallah, he gave an overview of this whole narration. He said, now look, on the one hand it's mentioning do not leave out salah. On the other hand, it's mentioning do not drink alcohol. So he's saying قَرَنَ تَرْكَ الصَّلَاةِ وَشُرْبَ الْخَمْرِ مَعَ الشِّرْكِ. That here in this particular narration, the Prophet ﷺ is combining the abandonment of prayer and the consumption of alcohol with shirk. So these two actions, leaving out salah and drinking alcohol, the Prophet ﷺ is putting it with shirk. Why? إِذَانًا بِأَنَّ الصَّلَاةَ عُمُودُ الدِّينِ, to indicate that salah is the pillar of a religion. وَتَرْكُهَا ثُلْمَةٌ فِي الدِّينِ, neglecting it causes a breach in a person's deen. It causes a hole in a person's deen. So that's the one. That shirk is when a person doesn't have any, he does not have any iman. But leaving out salah, it's causing the person to lose his iman. وأن شرب الخمر كعابدة الوثن. Drinking alcohol is like worshipping an idol. Why? ولأن الأعمال ورأسها الصلاة, that the greatest of all actions is salah. The best action is salah. الخبائث الخمر, and the absolute worst of all actions, the root of all evil is alcohol. فأنا يجتمعان. So how can these coexist? When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, إن الصلاة تنهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر, in verse number 45 of Surah Ankabut, that verily prayer restrains a person from indecency and wrongdoing. That if a person is performing salah, then he cannot be drinking alcohol. Why? Because his salah will cause him. Salah is the greatest good action. Alcohol is the lowest bad action. How can a person be doing the greatest good action with the lowest bad action? And by performing salah, a person will not drink alcohol. So this is how the Prophet ﷺ first combined these actions. ثم عقب كل من المنهيات بما يزيد المبالغة فيها. He then followed up and reinforced each prohibition with additional emphasis. So he said, إن قطعت أو إن قطعت أو حرقت تتميم لمعنى النهي عن الشرك. By saying that even if you are cut into pieces or burnt, this reinforces the prohibition of a shirk. And then we're saying من تركها, that it's تتميم لمعنى النهي عن ترك الصلاة. That emphasizes why you should not leave out your salah, because then you're going to lose all divine protection. And then saying فإنها مفتاح كل شر, that drinking wine, it's the key for all evil. It intensifies the warning against consuming alcohol. وقد برئت منه الذمة. So these words here, وقد برئت منه الذمة, mentioning about leaving out salah, he said that كناية عن المنكر تغليظا, that this is a figurative way of highlighting this, that a person will now fall into sin. So this is what Al-Tibi mentioned in his commentary of Mishkat, that when a person leaves out salah, now he will just he will fall into more and more and more sin. That it all started off with leaving out salah, but where it can end up, he can now think that I left out my salah, so now he'll go watch a movie, maybe he'll then eat haram, and from there it will just go one wrong to another wrong to another wrong. But regarding this portion here of وَقَدْ بَرِئَتْ مِنْهُ الذِّمَّةِ, so the way Al-Tibi mentioned it in Al-Kashif, in his commentary of Mishkat, is kinayatun anil munkar. When Mullah Ali Qari rahmallah was quoting it, he quoted it as kinayatun anil kufr. That faqad bari'at minhu dhimma means that a person will actually lose his iman. So he said that that could be the one meaning, that when a person leaves out salah, then he can lose his iman. And you know that in the Hanbali madhab, this here is very strongly emphasized when you're studying Riyadh al-Salihin. Many Sahaba and Tabi'un also held this view. A person leaves out one salah intentionally, they lose their deen. So that's the one meaning. The second is أو المراد منها الأمان من التعرض بالقتل والتعذير. The second is that this person loses all his securities which he had. That what securities he had? He had living in an Islamic country, he had the security that now no one can kill him. And he had security that he will be not get any punishment. But now he loses those securities. Now he can be killed or he can be subjected to corporal punishment. So in either way, you can just see that it highlights the severity of leaving out salah. Now the question comes about that here the Prophet ﷺ is saying that don't associate any partners with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, even if you have to be killed or even if you have to be cut up to pieces. So what is the ruling of uttering statements of this belief if a person is threatened and if a person is really harmed? So Mullah Ali Qari rahmallah in Mirqat, he explained that yeah, la tushrik billahi shay'an means that internally in your heart don't associate partners with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Yes, with your tongue you can say that you are not a believer. So if they hold a rifle at your head and they say that, and you know it's happening in India where they're making them chant the Hindu slogans. It happened in Syria where they made them say that dog Assad Bashar, he's the Lord and he's a deity. Astaghfirullah. So, what your heart don't accept it. Yes, with your tongue, if you want to, then you do have the leeway of just saying it so that they don't harm you. فَيَكُونُ وَصِيَّةً بِالْأَفْضَلِ. So Mullah Ali Qari Rahmallah says that thus, if you're taking the meaning to be that don't even say it with your tongue, then it's just giving advice on what is the best to do. That the best is that you don't even say it with your tongue. But yes, if you're a weak person, then you can say it with your tongue, but in your heart you're still a believer. In verse number 106 of Surah An-Nahl, "Man kafara billahi min ba'di imanihi illa man ukriha wa qalbuhu mutma'innun bil iman." So you can see when a person is forced to utter words of this belief, but his heart is tranquil. It's his heart is at peace with being a Muslim. So that's the summary is that this means that either don't become a mushrik with your heart, or either if you don't say it with your tongue, then that is just telling you what is the best thing to do. Then with regards to the portion for which Imam Bukhari rahmallah is quoting this narration, وَأَطِعْ وَالِدَيْكَ. So regarding this portion here, Alama Hassan al-Fayyumi, he said, شرط للمبالغة باعتبار الأكمل. That this here is an emphasis to the utmost level of obedience. It's it, where the Prophet ﷺ is literally saying that even if they have to command you to go out of this world, then go out of this world. So it's just trying to show that there's so much emphasis that no matter what it is, as long as it is within your ability, try to obey them. Try to obey them in everything. And it's mentioned in the dual. So لا تخالف واحدا منهما. Don't obey, don't disobey either of them, whether it's your mother or whether it is your father. وإن غلا في شيء أمرك به. Even if they have to be going to extremes in what they are commanding you. So they are commanding you something. وإن كان فراق زوجة. So even if they, for example, they are commanding you that you must now give a breakup with your spouse, or hiba to mal, or they are telling you that you must give them a very substantial amount of wealth. So outwardly it seems like this year is they literally going to extremes here. They're giving such a hard commandment. Then to as much as possible try to obey them. So this is what Alama Hassan al-Fayyumi how he explained it. In Ad-Durr al-Munaddad it is mentioned فيه تأكيد لطاعة الوالدين وإن ظلما في الأمور الدنيوية. That this particular narration emphasizes the obligation of obeying your parents even if they have to be oppressing you in your worldly matters. So in other worldly matters they are really oppressing you, they are making things hard for you. Like if another person was doing it, you know that you would not have tolerated it at all. They are making things so hard for you. They all the time using bad language against you, literally oppressing you. In dhalama. So even if they are oppressing you, then to as much as possible, to the best of your ability, whatever they command you, try to fulfill that commandment. So if the parents command a person to divorce their spouse, do they have to listen? So the ruling of this here is that there are three conditions, and even with those three conditions, it's only mustahab. It's not compulsory. Firstly, there are numerous ahadith. Ismail alayhi salam, you know, Ibrahim alayhi salam came the lengthy incident, and then he left. Ismail alayhi salam was not there, so he left the message that you must change your doorstep. He told the wife that when he comes back, tell him that he must change his doorstep. So when he came back, then the wife told Ismail alayhi salam. So he said that it means that he has to divorce her. And then he divorced her. And then the next time when he came, he said that now you don't have to change the doorstep. So like that, Umar radiallahu anhu, he commanded, Ibn Umar radiallahu anhu, he commanded his son to um, divorce his wife. So it comes in Jami' al-Tirmidhi, Sunan Abi Dawud, Musnad Ahmad. There's so many narrations like this here. So the fuqaha, they mentioned that there's three conditions. The first condition is that there must be a valid reason. You can clearly see that there is a valid reason why they are telling you, whether it's harming them or not harming them, whether maybe the wife or the spouse is harming you. So there is a valid reason. So this is the first condition. The second is that if you divorce that wife, now you know if you get one child, you already lose 25% chance of getting married again, isn't it? You get a second child, you lose 50% chance. Maybe people will even have lot of respect for you, or they will hold you as a role model, but they wouldn't want to marry you and then bring up your kids. So the more longer you are in a marriage, the more you lose a chance of getting married again. So the second condition is that if you are going to divorce her, chances are you might not get another spouse. Then there must be no fear of you falling into fornication or to anything that's haram, masturbation or anything that's haram. That's the second condition. The third condition is that if there is a divorce, that now just say this girl, yeah, she's from another country, she's going to be taking the kids and going, and then you must not be harmed in any way by issuing the divorce. So those are the three conditions. In Imdad al-Fatawa, volume 2, page 467, Ashraf Ali Tanwi rahmallah, he said that if there is a fear of the man or of his wife not being able to bear the consequences of the divorce, then he should not listen to his father. He should not be obedient to his father if his father tells him to divorce. Like that, in Al-Bir wa Sila, Hassan Basri, he said that divorcing a wife is not part of obedience to a mother. So you can see these three conditions. Now basically it's a summary. I don't want to quote all the ibarat. The first condition is from Mirqat Mullah Al-Qari rahmallah. He mentioned that it's not necessary for a person to divorce his wife, volume 1, page 132, when ordered by his parents, even if they are a harm. So remember, these are three conditions, and after these three conditions are fulfilled, it's still only mustahab. It's not compulsory. So sorry, I'm going into a whole a whole big circle here. To answer your question, let's start again with answering your question. It's never compulsory to listen to your parents in divorcing a spouse. It's never compulsory. There are times when it will be mustahab. And when will it be mustahab? If three conditions are fulfilled. And those are the three conditions that I just told you. But they were pious. If one's parents aren't pious and asked to divorce, so the three conditions again, then it will only be mustahab. You have to obey parents when they choose a spouse for you, but you don't want it. Again, you have to be sure that you remember. I also explained it yesterday in the voice note that your parents are human beings. Now, sometimes a parent comes and then they got this in their mind that no, you must get married. Especially like it happens a lot in your countries, not here in our country. In the UK, Canada, America, it happens very frequently that they want you to get married back home in Pakistan or in India. Now you know for sure that those people, they brought up completely differently, and you brought up completely differently. It's not going to work. And then it's also going to become a long distance relationship and things are not going to work. But they insisting this because of culture and because of that, then definitely you don't have to obey them. But the best for it is, the best is always to do it with consultation. So you do it with consultation of other seniors. So that means you speak maybe to another elder in your family. So just to make sure that you are not following your nafs. What was the reference for the opinion of Hassan Basri? It's in Al-Bir wa Sila, page 32 of Alama Marwazi. There are some parents who oppress the daughter-in-law and want to control. Should the son not stop it? Yes, most definitely. The son has to stop it. He cannot allow oppression. And part of stopping it is making khidmah of his parents, isn't it? Because if a person is a zalim, then you know the da'wah of a mazlum, it's immediately accepted, isn't it? Between the dua or the curse of a person who's being oppressed and his dua, there is no hijab. Most definitely that curse, even if he's a kafir, So can you see? So imagine you know that your spouse is cursing your parents because of oppression. You are making khidmah of your parents, but the condition is that you stop it with respect and you stop it with kindness. So you must stop it, but how do you stop it? You don't go and say, phone your mother and you say, hey, what the hell? How did you do that? No, you do it with humility, with linul kalam, with kindness. So marriage needs a lot of maturity. What is the third condition? So the third condition is that the husband or the wife must not be harmed by the divorce. So for example, now they have kids and the kids are being taken away. So that's going to cause them to be harmed, isn't it? So first is there must be a valid reason. So like they have a genuine concern. They can see that this girl is really not in the best interest for their son and she's really harming him. So there is a valid reason, whatever that valid reason is. Second is that when divorcing, now chances of getting married after a first marriage becomes slim. So there must be no fear of falling into any haram. And third is neither of the spouses must be harmed. Okay, so did I answer all of your questions? Okay, let's try to continue and see how much we can complete, inshallah. So in Adab al-Mufrad, it's said that في تأكيد لطاعة الوالدين وإن ظلما في الأمور الدنيوية. Even if they wrongfully harm you in other worldly matters. So in other worldly matters, like now maybe say your sibling is earning much more than you, but your father tells you that I want you to buy me a car. Now he knows for sure that if your brother has to buy it, he'll still have much more left over that he can even live a very luxurious life after that, and he will still have so much extra which will just be sitting in his bank account. And if you have to buy it, you have to go and you have to crap here and there and probably even take a loan here, and you have to really cut out some of your expenses. So outwardly it seems as if you're going to be so harmed, but if your father told you to do it, you do it. So you try your best to remember, again, it's for istihbab. So for divorcing, it's always mustahab. It can never become a wajib. In every circumstance, it will be mustahab. Now, under the commentary of this narration, Mullah Fazlullah Jailani, he said, وَالْأَبَوَانِ لَا يَأْثَمَانِ فِي مَنْعِهِ لِلْحَجِّ. Your parents are completely within their right to prevent you from going for Hajj. So imagine, and we spoke about this here previously. And the reason why I want to emphasize this is because many people, they think that we can go in Jamaat when we want to. We can go for 4 months every year. The people are dying without Iman. We have to go, door to door. We have to make khidmah of deen. We have to really do sacrifices for deen. So here he's saying that you don't even, your parents have the right of preventing you from go for Hajj. So all the more reason. What happens a lot also is that now because you got the reputation that for the past 3-4 years you're going for 40 days every year, now you want to keep up that reputation. So now your parents tell you, no, don't go this year. Now because you can't break it. So you say, no, I want to go and go. So even if it's for Hajj, وإنه ما في سعة من منعه إذا كان يدخل من ذلك مشقة شديدة. So even they have the right of preventing you from going for Hajj. So all the more reason of going for Umrah, and all the more reason of going for your luxurious holiday. Now December came, you already booked your tickets, and now your parents tell you, no, that you mustn't go. So then don't go. وكذا لا يحل له السفر إلى مكان خطر إلا بإذنهما. That if you are going to a dangerous place, so here in South Africa, there's a lot of examples that can be given, isn't it? Or maybe it could be going out at night also. Sometimes here in South Africa, you could travel at night on the highway, they throw rocks on your windscreen. So now your parents, they tell you they are fearful. If you're going to go there, then what if they by Golan Highway, they throw stones on your windscreen and then they're going to harm you. So they completely within their right to do so. And then the next portion, وَإِن رَأَيْتَ أَنَّكَ أَنْتَ. So firstly, it's saying that don't go against your leaders. Now, okay, maybe we're not living in Muslim countries, so it doesn't even pass our minds about going against our leader. But maybe you're going Jamaat again, and now you have the Amir, or you're traveling. So your Amir, or maybe in a madrasa, in some madaris, now some of you are students here also. So the ustad, then they appoint an Amir in the class, or maybe just the teacher, like wherever there's an Amir, basically. So can you go against the leader or not? So Imam Nawawi rahmallah, he explained in his commentary of Sahih Muslim that لا تنازعوا ولاة الأمور. So that's how we are now bringing it into a micro level. That a macro level means you're the leader, the president, or the king in today's times. So لا تنازعوا ولاة الأمور. Do not dispute with the rulers, with the leaders regarding authority, nor oppose them. إلا أن تروا منهم منكرا محققا تعلمونه من قواعد الإسلام. So unless, so you can see here, there is this exception that unless you witness from them a manifest wrongdoing, which you know for sure it's contrary to the principles of Islam. فإذا رأيتهم ذلك فأنكروه عليهم. So if you see them doing such wrong, then condemn them. وقولوا بالحق حيثما كنتم, and then speak out and say the truth. So we make dua that Allah Ta'ala frees all of those ulama who have been wrongly jailed for speaking the truth. May Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala bless them with afiyah. May Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala take them out of jail. So one is speaking out against them, وَأَمَّا الْخُرُوجُ عَلَيْهِمْ, but the other is now rebelling against them and fighting against them. Then فَحَرَامٌ بِإِجْمَاعِ الْمُسْلِمِينَ. So you don't form your own army and try to go and fight them. But yes, you can speak against the wrong that they are doing. You can say, how can they allow this music festival to happen here? How can they open that immoral shop so close by, etc.? Like those kind of wrong, you can speak out against the wrong. But you can't now say that, oh, they're not ruling properly, so now we're going to prepare an army and we're going to fight them. That is not permissible. So then he said, وَقَدْ تَظَاهَرَتِ الْأَحَادِيث بِمَعْنَى مَا ذَكَرْتُ. So he's saying that there are so many narrations which supports this, what I just told you. So this is the summary. Now people want to ask you that in this Muslim country and in that Muslim country, how they're allowing every kind of vice, and they bring in new vices in. So this is the law. You can speak out against them. If you have social media, you can write against them. Whichever platform you have, you can you should be speaking out against them. But yes, you don't prepare an army and try to go and overthrow them. And then he said, وَأَجْمَعَ أَهْلُ السُّنَّةِ أَنَّهُ لَا يَنْعَزِلُ السُّلْطَانِ بِالْفِسْقِ. That the Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'ah, they unanimously agree that a ruler does not lose his position because of immorality. So because of being a fasiq, because of sin, he does not lose his position. You can't say that because this person here, he's indulging in this kind of sins, so no matter what kind of sin he as a ruler is doing, but it's sin. So you cannot, he's still a Muslim at the end of the day. So you cannot then take him out of his, position. So he's saying that this year it's the view of the Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'ah. So now why can't you take him out of his position? So the reason is that you are going to be doing, you're going to be spreading more wrong. So in Ad-Durr al-Munaddad, it says, وَذَلِكَ لِأَنَّ مُنَازَعَةَ وَلِيِّ الْأَمْرِ يَحْصُلُ بِهَا الشَّرُّ وَالْفَسَادِ الَّذِي وَأَعْظَمُ مِنْ جَوْرِهِ وَظُلْمِهِ. That now in the country, there's still peace. That means you can still go to the masjid and perform salah. In your home, you can still recite the Quran. There's peace. People are carrying on their lives as normal. People are still, yes, the king or the ruler, he is indulging in all kinds of sins. Maybe he's, like just giving you an example. Say in a country you have a leader, he's drinking wine and eating swine. He's making zina, he's doing every kind of sin. But the people, the masses are living normal lives. But now if you're going to prepare an army and try to go and overthrow, what's going to happen? Now there's going to become a civil war in that country. Now people won't be living moral, normal lives anymore. So, وَمَعْلُومٌ أَنَّ الْعَقْلَ وَالشَّرَعَ يَنْهَى عَنْ ارْتِكَابِ أَشَدِّ الضَّرَرَيْنِ. That on the one hand you have the harm of allowing the leader to continue with his wrong. On the other hand, you have the harm of now causing so much death that, of course, you're going to prepare a war against the ruler. The whole army is going to come. How many innocent people, elderly people, females, children are going to be killed in there? People are going to starve. People's houses are going to be burnt. People are going to lose their livelihood. So there's so much corruption that's going to come about. So because of that, ويأمر بارتكاب أخف الضررين إذا كان لابد من ارتكاب أحدهما. That if you have to choose, then you always choose the lesser of the two harms. So وهذا دليل على أن ولاية المفضول صحيحة مع وجود الأفضل. So this serves as evidence that the rulership of a person who is less qualified is valid, even if there is someone who is more qualified. Now, وَإِنْ رَأَيْتَ أَنَّكَ أَنْتَ, what does that mean? وَإِنْ اعْتَقَدْتَ فِي الْأَمْرِ حَقًّا. Even if you know for sure that if I become the ruler, I will be able to make a difference. So then too, you cannot go against the ruler. So فَلَا تَعْمَلْ بِذَلِكَ الْحَقِّ. So even if you are absolutely sure that you can rule in a better way, then too do not oppose the leader. بَلْ اسْمَعْ وَأَطِعْ. Rather listen and obey. إلى أن يصل إليك بغير خروج عن الطاعة, until it reaches you without rebellion. So إلا أن يروا كفرا بواحا. Yes, unless you can clearly see a kufr. Then if the person is now clearly a kafir, that you can see him holding the cross and you see him going to the Wailing Wall and wearing the Christian cap, or you see him worshipping others besides Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then in that case you can go against them. Alama ibn Raslan, in his commentary of Sunnah Abi Dawud, he said, لكن إذا ظلموا لا يجوز الخروج عليهم ما لم يغيروا شيئا من قواعد الإسلام. So one is that they commit kufr. The second is they change anything from the qawaid of Islam. So now if they say that we're no more going to read this Quran, we're going to change and we're going to recite that Quran. Or now we're no more going to have 5 salats a day, we're going to have 4 salats a day. Or all the wherever the word kul comes in the Quran, we're going to delete that. You know, there was a leader 3 decades ago who said wherever the word kul comes, then you delete it. So like things like that, then you can of course oppose them. لكن يجب تغيير الظلم على على من قدر بيده أو بلسانه. That what besides revolting against the ruler, whatever is in your capacity, like verbally, etc., you try to change the evil. فَإِنْ عَجَزَ, and if you can't do that, then don't go on social media and now praise that leader. And don't go to everybody else and say now how good it is. Rather, فَيَكْرَهُ بِقَلْبِ, now hate it with your heart and constantly think of ways that you can't change it right now, but constantly think of ways on how you could have changed it. Hafiz ibn Hajar rahimahullah, he mentioned in Fath al-Bari, وَالَّذِي يَظْهَرُ حَمْلُ رِوَايَةَ الْكُفْرِ عَلَى مَا إِذَا كَانَتِ الْمُنَازَعَةِ فِي الْوِلَايَةِ فَلَا يُنَازِعُهُ بِمَا يَقْدَحُ فِي الْوِلَايَةِ إِلَّا إِذَا ارْتَكَبَ الْكُفْرِ. That yes, if the leader becomes a kafir, then you can oppose him. وحمل رواية المعصية على ما إذا كانت المنازعة فيما عدا الولاية فأما إذا لم يقدح في الولاية نازعه في المعصية. And then this last portion, yes, time is up. So those of you who want to leave can leave. It's over. Those of you who just want to stay for this quick 1 minute. So this last portion of ولا ترفع عصاك عن أهلك. So on this year, Mulana Fazlullah Jailani, he said, اختلفت الروايات في قول النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم ولا ترفع عصاك على أهلك وعن أهلك. That some riwayat mentions the word على أهلك, and some riwayat mentions the words عن أهلك. So if you have to look, do not raise your stick over your family and on your family. So he says, وَكِلَا الرِّوَايَتَيْنِ صَحِيح. Both of these are authentic narrations. أما على رواية الكتاب فنهي عن ضرب المرأة. If you are taking the meaning ala or an, the whole meaning changes, isn't it? One is saying that don't ever raise your stick on your family. That is what it means. It means don't ever raise your stick on your family. So that means never ever hit them. And the other meaning is constantly have your stick there. So if they do anything that's wrong, then you can hit them. So the one is, don't ever raise your stick. It means فَنَهْيٌ عَنْ ضَرْبِ الْمَرْأَةِ. So they say that Islam says that you must hit your wife. The Prophet ﷺ never ever raised his hand against any of his wives. So this here is prohibition on hitting your wife. بل كل من يكون تحت رياسته في البيت. Actually, you shouldn't be hitting anyone in your house. من الزوج والولد والخادم. You shouldn't be hitting any person. You should have that much of authority. And you should have that much of wisdom where you can get your children to perform salah, and you can get them to do what they have to do without having to hit. And then finally, وَأَخِفْهُمْ أي أنذرهم عاقبة مخالفة أمر الله. That make them fearful. It means that make them fearful of the repercussions of disobeying Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. What about our parents ask us not to do something of sunnah, like wearing a kurta? So it depends again on the reason why they are commanding you to do it. So if they are commanding you, now maybe it might not be applicable here in South Africa, but say maybe you live in a country where if you are going to wear the sunnah libas, and it's going to invite unnecessary criticism, people are going to taunt you, and people are they might even just harm you. They might throw stones at you. Then you have to listen. Again, so it all depends on looking whether they have a valid reason or not. If they don't have a valid reason, so for example, here in South Africa now generally, so there's no valid reason, then it's permissible rather to disobey them and to continue following the sunnah. Does it apply to the wife also if she tells her Zawj to not go in Jamaat? Yes, so the wife also has rights, isn't it? The wife has rights. If she tells her husband that she can't go in Jamaat, if the husband goes in Jamaat, who's going to fulfill her conjugal rights, for example? So the wife also has the right to tell the husband. Or now, who must go take the kids to school? Is you say the females mustn't come for Tarawih Salah, and they mustn't come to the masjid. But then you say, I'm going in Jamaat, and you must go, and you must go do all the grocery shopping, and you must go take all the kids to school, and you must go do all the running around and all of that. So you're making your wife run around, and of course, wearing the niqab is not a license that you can now just go everywhere, wherever you want to. So then it's better then to stay at home rather. And if the spouses doesn't give permission to go in Jamaat, so I think that's answered. If a leader unites people against the rulers because of his ego, as it happened in Pakistan recently. So I don't have to answer about a particular country because now there are people from that country and we don't want to make it difficult for anyone in any country. Since we are applying the hadith about obeying the ruler to multiple rulers, who do we obey? So what do you mean, who do we obey? So basically you look at who is the, that كلكم راع وكلكم مسؤول عن رعيته. So take that hadith and then see who's the leader. So in the house, if you are living with your father is the leader. If you go in, if you are teaching in an institute, the principal is your leader. If you are in the masjid, the imam is your leader. So wherever you are, you go in Jamaat, whoever they appointed as your leader. So instead of explaining the whole narration again, you can just, inshallah, listen to the recording, inshallah. And if you listen to the recording, then it will be as you are live. You know that based on the whole concept of mukataba in munawala. So, okay, that's answered. Okay, and then the 9 points, inshallah, it's there in the kitab, so someone will share it with you. Jazakumullah khairan. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.